Hello and welcome to Empower, the program that focuses on amazing women who are breaking barriers, driving impact, and helping others step into their best selves. I am your host, Sharona J. And today we are joined by an amazing woman. She's a clinician and educator specializing in women's hormonal health and integrative wellness. She's the founder of Serene Infusion and Wellness Lounge in the US and Serenara Wellness in Nigeria, helping women navigate perimenopause, menopause, PCOS, fibroid, and metabolic health. She's also the author of Living with Fibroid and How to Thrive with PCOS, and through her work, she bridges gaps in women's health, advocates for hormonal therapy access, and provides compassionate, culturally aware care for women across communities. Join me as I welcome our beautiful and delectable Yewande Banire.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome, ma. You look so pretty,
Thank
by
you.
the way.
Thank you. So do you.
All right, let's start off by you sharing what inspired you to specialize in women's hormonal health and integrative wellness.
So it actually started off with my own experience. I started experiencing symptoms of perimenopause when I was about 37. And it took me a minute to actually find a medical provider who would first take me seriously and actually believe that what I was experiencing was real. So from that experience, I realized how challenging it is for a lot of women. And for me, I know what perimenopause is. My prior background is biochemistry, so I'm a biochemist. So I understand the concept of that. And then it made me realize that there's so many women, millions of women who are all around the world who are experiencing similar symptoms with no help. So that's actually how this journey started. So it actually started from my pain. Mm-hmm. And that was the purpose that I feel like it was a space that I feel like I could feel and help so many women through education and through treatment therapies.
Wow, quite interesting. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about women's health and, of course, some challenges. You have a program that helps women navigate PCOS, perimenopause, and the likes of it. And we have lots of women worldwide that they live in silence, live in fear of these conditions. Why do you think these issues are still under-discussed or even misunderstood at some point?
So the first thing is stigma. In our culture, we have the stigma of shame. So a lot of people don't really want to discuss some of these symptoms because people judge them. And for whoever is listening to me right now, at any age, I want you to know that most of these hormonal imbalances are not exactly your faults. So what we need to first of all, eradicate is that culture of shame, where when a woman talks about the conditions she's experiencing, they're almost blamed for it. So because of that, a lot of people don't want to share what they're going through. Also, we don't have these conversations enough. So because of that, it's not an easy conversation to have. A lot of us are finding out about these hormonal imbalances while we're in it. But we're women. We have grandmas and great-grandmas who have experienced this, but we never heard them talk about it. So we didn't know what to expect. I think our society only prepares girls and women for pregnancy. They only prepare us to just have children and that's it, as if that's what women are made to do. So we need to be comfortable have these types of conversations so that way we know what to expect and how to prepare for it.
You know, we live in a society, just like you said, you made reference to our grandmothers, our forefathers, not being able to speak about issues like this. The women, not being able to speak about issues like this. And now when it got to our turn, we also try to replicate what they did. We also did not want to talk about it. And society has made it seem like, because what they did was they tagged it as right. They expect that we also remain in that, that circle. Now, in your experience, we know you've dealt with lots of women, having these issues. How does culture shape the way women perceive and care for conditions like the menopause and hormonal imbalance?
Oh, culture plays a significant role because, like I said, if you have a culture that's rooted in shame and bias, then it limits the resources that women seek. Because let me give you an example. Sometimes women will come to me talking about their symptoms, like maybe tiredness, or they're starting to forget things, or they're not sleeping well. And when I say, it's symptoms of hormonal imbalance and we can treat it, and some of them will say, well, my mom never really dealt with this. And I say, did she not deal with it? Or maybe she didn't have an venue to talk about it. Because back in the day, they weren't given the options to really discuss it. They didn't have social media. Social media has helped us be able to share information so quickly, right?
Yeah.
So it has its pros and cons. So a culture that is rooted in shame and rooted in bias would have their women as a society suffer because they would not reach out for care. They would not follow up with medications, and they would not be There would not be compliance. So we need to change that narrative that women exaggerate their symptoms. We need to change the narrative that women are making things up. We need you to believe us when we say something is wrong with us.
You talk about changing the narrative, the stereotype. How can we go about that? We see men also contributing to, building a system that is not pleasing to women.
Mm-hmm.
Building that stereotype surrounding women living with these conditions. How
Right.
can we work towards eradicating such stereotypes surrounding them?
So awareness, creating more awareness, having conversations like this.
Yeah.
We need to normalize having these conversations. We need to let the younger girls see us, be comfortable sharing some of the challenges that we face as women. The greatest thing about, transitioning that perimenopause to menopause is that you're so knowledgeable, you're so experienced, and you have all these younger girls looking up to you. So hearing us talk about some of the challenges we face as we grow, as we navigate life, empowers them. We need our husbands, our brothers to know that when we say there's something wrong with us, we're not making it up.
Yeah.
We just need you to believe us. Okay, that's it. You might not be able to necessarily help us, but if you believe us, if we find you as a safe space, that we can be vulnerable with you, you can help us.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have to worry that tomorrow when I wake up and I tell my husband that, you know what, I feel so tired because I didn't sleep at night. If I don't have to worry that my husband would judge me or start to talk down on me, then I'll be vulnerable to ask for help. To tell him, I didn't sleep well last night. I'm struggling today. Can you help me? And I need him to be able to step into that role to say, okay, let's get the kids ready for school. Okay, what do you need? Maybe you can go back to bed. We need help. We cannot navigate this society alone.
Yeah.
We need men to please understand and support us when we're going through these challenges, because it's biology. We cannot control it. So the way it presents in each person just varies. Because your mother never talked about it to you does not mean I, as your wife, would not talk about it. It doesn't mean I would not experience it differently than your mother or your sister does. Because I had one of the radio interviews that I did, I had a man call in and he said, well, this menopause and perimenopause, is it not natural? Why are you doing something about it? But so is losing your vision. When you're losing your vision, you get glasses. Sometimes so is cancer. Cancer can be natural. Do we let people just die? No. We treat them. So we can treat hormonal imbalance. Because it's natural does not mean we need to suffer.
Wow. Because it's natural doesn't mean we need to suffer.
Mm-mm.
Wow. Such interesting statement. And let's talk about your work and impact. You have 2 books that have been widely referenced, Living with Fibroid and How to Thrive with PCOS. Now, what key takeaway would you expect that your readers take from after, going through the book?
So the first one is Living with Fibroids. So the key takeaway is for women, young girls, older adults to understand that having a painful menstrual cycle is not normal. Because every other person talks about their painful period does not mean it's normal. Having a heavy menstrual cycle is not normal. So Living with Fibroids is you understanding what fibroids is, how to identify it, and how to manage it. And also the resources that are available beyond surgical intervention that you can use to manage your fibroids. The other one is How to Thrive with PCOS. PCOS is also a very common condition. 1 in 10 women are diagnosed. Actually, 1 in 10 women have PCOS, but we are severely misdiagnosed, right? Mm-hmm. So I need women to understand that PCOS is not your fault. And it's much more than a regular period. It's much more than a regular cycle. It's much more than your fertility. And we can help. There are resources that can help you manage it. It's not the end of your life. I see a lot of young girls coming with PCOS and they're so devastated because they automatically think they cannot have kids because our society focuses on that. If you're a woman, all they need is for you to have kids. It's much more than that. You need to be able to live well for yourself, beyond just having children, beyond just anything else that society puts on a woman. I need them to know that it's so many people have PCOS and they go on to have a healthy life. They go on to have children. So these books are just to empower people with the knowledge in simple terms that are not filled with medical jargons so that you can understand it and advocate for yourself better.
Interesting. Let's talk more about your program. We have Serene Infusion.
Mm-hmm.
in the US, and we have Serenara Wellness in Nigeria.
Yes.
Now, how do they help women feel seen, feel heard, in regards to conditions as the PCOS and
perimenopause? The first thing is that because when you come to see me, I'm you. Okay. I'm a perimenopausal woman. I'm a Black woman. I experienced a lot of this day-to-day things that every other woman experiences. So when you come to me, you're not judged. You're not dismissed. You come in knowing that your concerns will be validated, and we'll do the best that we can to get you a diagnosis, because every patient deserves a diagnosis. You will not be dismissed. You deserve to be heard. It doesn't have to fit the textbook description, because we're not textbook people. We live in the reality, right? So sometimes our symptoms may vary from what the textbook describes. So you will come in knowing that you can be vulnerable with me and that we will figure it out together. And that's really what a lot of women want.
Wow. That's quite amazing. Mm-hmm. Tell us, have you ever experienced emotions speaking to, of course, you've had lots of clients, but you could just give us one or two instances where you felt really overwhelmed, with emotions speaking to a client?
Well, one that always speaks to me is I had a female patient, about 62 years old, menopausal. Symptoms where she wasn't sleeping well. She was having terrible insomnia. She was having night sweats. So it means that when she eventually even falls asleep, she wakes up in sweats. She was having difficulty with work. She was having forgetfulness. We call it brain fog. And one of my other patients referred her to me. She came to me and we talked about her symptoms. We ran some labs, and I gave her a treatment plan that she can definitely benefit from. She was ready to go with it. And she said, okay, you know what? I'll give you a call back. Let me, talk to my husband about it. And maybe like a week later, I didn't hear from her. So one of the nurses followed up with her and she said, my husband said, I don't need the treatment. He said, I can manage. And that broke my heart. That broke my heart because that woman was suffering and there's help. And now she knows that there's help. She knows that she has finally found someone who will listen to her, but her husband talked her out of it. Why? How do we get to a point where our partner can dissuade us from a therapy that we need, that can help us? How do we get to that point as a society? And because she was trying to probably please him, she didn't go on with the treatment. And this sometimes happens all the time. Sometimes when I work in the hospital, we'll have a woman who's bleeding, and because she's not able to advocate for herself, her husband will come in and say, oh, well, she doesn't need the blood transfusion because of their religious purposes. So I'm telling every woman who's listening to me, I need you to have a written medical plan so that if you get to a place where you can no longer advocate for yourself, that can protect you. Okay? It's a power of attorney. You need to have somebody that you can delegate, because we all think about our valuables. We think about our house. We think about jewelries. We don't really think about our health. We don't really protect ourselves because we think, oh, well, my husband or my partner will make these decisions for me, but they might not make the decision that benefits you. So that's one of the most heartbreaking stories that I have. And I'm sure she's still suffering, and I'm sure she's still trying to manage. But because her husband told her she didn't need it, she didn't go through with it.
My goodness. Well, let me not get too emotional. We'll be going on a short break now, and when we return, Empower continues.
Culture connects us beyond borders. It's a bridge between traditions, creativity, and the future.
Culture is alive, shaping identities and communities every day.
Art tells stories of resilience and vision.
Artists blend tradition with innovation.
Cultural preservation creates sustainability and empowerment.
Culture evolves and adapts.
Music and dance unites communities through movement.
And right here, in the heart of our cities, artists and creators are keeping these cultures alive.
On Culture Cove, let's explore,
celebrate, and preserve the arts and culture that define us.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is Empower. And of course, I'm still with Yewande Banire. I hope you're very comfortable, ma'am.
I am. Thank
All right,
you.
let's talk about, bridging the gap. You emphasize that, bridging a gap in women's health and addressing inequalities. What are some biggest barriers you see in underserved populations?
Out-of-pocket cost. Okay. Poverty is a huge barrier for a lot of people, because if you have to decide between paying your house rent and putting food on the table and your health, you will pick the house rent and the food. So out-of-pocket cost is a huge barrier. Lack of accessibility to medications is also a barrier, because sometimes, especially in my line of work, what I use for most women is hormone replacement therapy. That's what we use to manage all these hormonal imbalances. Okay. Those medications are not easily accessible. I had a patient that I recommended these medications, and it's been almost a week now. We still can't find the medications in Nigeria. So access to medication is a barrier. We need more education. We need more awareness. Also, we need to bridge technology. My consult is mostly online for most people. But a lot of people are not comfortable with it because they feel like, oh, I need a doctor to see me, to see how sick I am. And it's rooted in trauma. It's rooted in dismissal. It's because you think that if the doctor sees how sick you are, they will take you seriously. That's very shameful. So we need to change that because we need to take advantage of technology. We need to be able to say, okay, you know what, I can see a doctor tomorrow. I only have a 30-minute break. I can sit in my car and do what you need to do instead of trying to find someone to watch your kids and getting out of the house. It's a lot that goes into if you're going to see a doctor. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some conditions and some diseases that need a doctor to see you face to face because we need to do some medical exams. But for majority of this consultation, a lot of people think they need to have all these elaborate tests and they need to do a lot. So it delays their care. And sometimes all you need is to start that conversation. It might not even be as complex as you think it is. We need to start that conversation. So I think a lot of people also delay their need. Even if they have access to it, they delay because they think it's not, oh, maybe it's not, maybe I'm just making it up. Speak up. Because when you speak up and we address a lot of these conditions early, we have so many resources that we can use. Most people come in when it's almost too late. And at that point, we're chasing it.
Amazing. So basically, picking from what you said, your online patients are lesser than those that want to see you in person?
Yes, because a lot of people still feel like, oh, I need to see. Well, people are warming up to it because, and I can see that it's also, it changes. In the United States, a lot of people are comfortable with telehealth. So even though I have a practice, people will pick the telehealth option because it's much more convenient. In Nigeria, we're still slowly getting to that point where we know that, okay, we can actually see a doctor on our phone and still get the same excellent care. So I think it's really it's a new concept and people are slowly warming up to it because when they eventually grudgingly say, okay, I'll see you via telehealth and they're like, oh my God, this is so nice. As a matter of fact, they're able to open up more because they feel comfortable, right? They're in their own safe spot. They open up more and it's so enjoyable for them. So for the people that eventually try it, they really like it. Wow. But I can see that it takes time for us to get to that point.
Amazing. Hormone therapy is something you advocate for.
Yes.
Can you share with us why that is so important?
Thank you for that question, because that's a very important question. So when we talk about hormone replacement therapy, we're talking about replacing some of these hormones that women need. Excuse me. And the most important ones, let's talk about the main hormones that we replace. Estrogen. When we get to a particular age, let's say from 35 and older, we start to have imbalance ratio between estrogen and progesterone. The reason why it's very important to replace these hormones is that your body relies on these hormones. Because you no longer make them does not mean your body no longer needs them. Low estrogen long-term affects your heart because estrogen protects your heart. It helps with the flexibility of your heart. So it means that when you get to a point where you no longer have estrogen, you're prone to a heart attack. Black women already have a higher risk of cardiovascular disease. So we don't have any room to say we're not replacing this estrogen. Okay. Estrogen also helps with the serotonin and dopamine in your brain, which means it helps the hormones that help you feel good, feel happy. It helps with the hormones that give you motivation. If you no longer have it, you'll be sad. It can lead into depression. It manages your cholesterol and your sugar. So it means if you no longer have it, you can be diabetic. You can have elevated cholesterol. These are hormones that are important. They're not just things that you can just not need. When we talk about progesterone, progesterone helps with your mood. It calms you down. It protects your uterus. It protects your breast. When you no longer make it, you become more anxious. Managing day-to-day stress becomes stressful. Your mood. Your husband just sees you, oh, she's a different person. I don't even know who she is. You're nagging all the time. You can't help it. Even you cannot explain why. It's because of these imbalances in these hormones. So replacing them should not be a choice. It should be something that we naturally do when we need them. Now, there's some contraindication where some people cannot replace these hormones because they've had a particular type of cancer or whatever. But majority of female population can replace these hormones safely. Okay, so this is why it's important to replace this hormone, because they protect your heart, they protect your brain. Your brain thrives off estrogen, so it can help with dementia and Alzheimer's. They protect your breast, they protect your uterus, they help. So these are conversations we need to have so people understand the reason behind replacing these hormones beyond just the physical symptoms of hot flashes, night sweats, because that you might be able to manage. You can say, okay, I'm just going to take this supplement and manage that. But the long-term effect are just as dire. And because we live in a climate where our emergency care or our preventive medicine is almost nowhere to be found, I don't even think we have the luxury to play around with that. So this is why this is so important, where we need to understand why we need to do this. Now, the myth is that hormone therapy can cause cancer, right? But that was a study that was done 24 years ago. And the hormones that we use now have changed. Back then, we only had the synthetic hormones. Now we use bioidentical that are made from plants. So they are safer, they are much more tolerable. So that's why a lot of people shy away from it. Oh, because they said it will cause cancer. No, it doesn't. There's been so many studies that has debunked that. Okay. And then some other thing is, oh, they said, well, it's natural because, like I said, because it's natural doesn't mean you need to suffer. So there's so many things that we can do that can help us age gracefully. We're not changing aging. Nobody can do that. We're just helping you age gracefully.
Wow. This is quite remarkable, really. Let's talk about you now. We've been talking about what you do. Let's talk about you.
Okay.
Now, balancing clinical practice, writing, running wellness center and all of that can be a bit demanding, How have you been able to stay balanced, judging by the fact that you do all of these things?
I'm going to say this, and I'm not trying to be cheesy. I have an amazing support system. That is the foundation. My husband is my number one cheerleader. I'm able to be in Nigeria right now because he supports me, because he cheers me on, because he believes in my dreams as much as I do. My kids are a little bit older, but they still need their mom. And I also have to give them their props because they're very forgiving, right? I've been in Nigeria now this is my 6th week. So I have an amazing support system. My mom, my friends, all those people. I'm a very religious person. I'm a Muslim. That's why my hair is always wrapped. God grants me. That's my anchor. And because I believe that what I'm doing is impactful, it fuels me. And the support makes it easy for me to amplify, right? So that's what I tell people. I don't have any superpower. I just have this awesome support system that helps me wake up every day to continue to do what I need to do. I show up, be the best of myself, and that's it.
You could tell by the emotion on my face. That's a beautiful thing. I'm happy for you.
Yeah,
Say a
thank
word
you.
like that. It's so
you.
beautiful. And, we have to give it to your spouse because look how you turn up. That's why we could have you on set today,
Absolutely.
Educating us about, women issues and all of that.
Absolutely. They're counting down though. They're counting down now.
All right, let's, looking ahead, what changes would you love to see in women's health, specifically in Africa?
It's a lot. But the number one thing is I need us to have policy that actually protect women's health. Money can go far. Finding a good provider can go far, but policies and systems actually saves lives further than anything else. Maternal health is, our statistics in Nigeria in terms of maternal death is alarming. We contribute to 20% of maternal death worldwide. That is an astonishing number. And one of the reasons why this number is so high is because a lot of people don't have access to skilled medical professionals when they are delivering birth. And one of the barriers, again, is money, right? It's distance to all these facilities. It's getting to the facilities and not having what they need. So we need to have these processes in place that can help protect women. One thing that I hope that I would see in my lifetime is for pregnant women to be able to go into any hospital and be able to deliver their babies safely with or without the financial part of it. I hope we get to a point where government can at least make that accessible to a lot of these women, because a lot of them find alternative care because the cost is too high. So I hope we get to that point where at least we can do that for maternal moms, where they can go find themselves in any hospital and be able to deliver. One other policy that I think we need to enforce is to have people need emergent care and be asked to bring ID or be asked to bring ridiculous things. We just lost a 29-year-old female a few days ago. The hospital rejected her. They were asking for an ID. Who in an emergency situation would have access to ID? Who? That's why it's an emergency. That's why, and that's one thing that we differ from. When you see us attend to emergency care in the United States, you would think there's someone looking at us or watching us. No, but it's part of our culture to always take emergency seriously, no matter where you are. And we need to start to apply that. It's unfair. It really is unfair to find yourself being able to make it to the hospital and not be treated. It's a sad situation. And to still talk about that in 2025 is very shameful.
Indeed, it is. It is. Thank you so much, Yewande. This has been such an educative section with you, and emotional, I would say.
Yeah.
Such inspiring conversation. I would like you to do something, and this we're already wrapping up. I'd like you to look to your camera and speak to women who are struggling with fibroid, PCOS, perimenopause, and the likes of those conditions. I would like you to give a practical piece of advice or encouragement to them.
So to any woman listening to me today, you're not alone. There are millions of women experiencing the same thing. It's not specific to just you. However, it's your responsibility to find a provider that would help you. I know there are so many resources on social media that tells you how to manage your conditions. They're not always helpful. Because someone claims something is natural does not mean it works like that. Find a licensed medical provider. And if you find the first one and they don't believe you, continue to find the one that will. Do not stop. We don't deserve to suffer. We deserve to thrive at any age.
I'm picking that for myself.
Okay.
Also. All right, we're going to read a report, a fact, and I would like to get your comment on it. All right, the World Health Organization in a 2023 report stated that around 17.5% of the adult population, roughly 1 in 6 worldwide, experience infertility, showing the urgent need to increase access to affordable, high-quality fertility care for those in need. Now, this is a 2023 report by the World Health Organization, and I would like to, get your comment on this.
And I agree, because when we think about infertility, if you think about the infertility treatments that we have, they're very expensive. It's almost like a rich person's problem. And you have people that go about, looking for loans or trying to go in debt to be able to have access to infertility treatments. This should be a human right. This should be part of our medical system. Every woman or man deserve to be able to have a proper infertility evaluation and treatment too. So it comes down to some of the barriers that we have, especially in Africa. Out-of-pocket costs is too high. Care, not easily accessible and not easily affordable. And because our culture is a culture of pushing, having kids, it puts women, especially, in a very difficult situation. And it's not always the woman's fault. Sometimes it's nobody's fault, not the woman, not the man. Sometimes it's just written like that. But the woman takes most of the blame. And we need to start to change some of those.
Thank you so much. Like I said, and I'm going to state again, it's such an inspiring conversation having with you today. And I hope and believe that there are lots of women, watching this program, they would take one or two, thoughts and encouragement from what you've said throughout our conversation. Thank you. Okay, let me speak on behalf of some women. We really appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
We feel seen. We feel heard, and of course, what you do is truly an encouragement to various women. And I hope that lots of them will be able to access, your program and be able to get the help that they need and, of course, they deserve. Thank you once again, Yewande Banire. It was amazing having you on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Well, that's where we draw the line on Empower. I remain your host, Serenara. Until next time, stay inspired and stay empowered.